of week 3 of the South African lockdown, with a few more left to go at least. I'm worried that I'm going to devolve into full Yeti mode by the time this is over. For those of you who don't know me, I spend most of my time out in the South African bush photographing African nature and wildlife with my Land Rover Basil. But as I'm stuck here at home, I thought I'd share some tips about editing wildlife photos. Researching YouTube videos the last few days about how to edit wildlife pictures, I found a lot of useful information, but a lot of it was structured around search, YouTube search, so people were searching how to do things. And while that does tend to yield better views in videos, I don't care. I'm not interested in views. What I'm interested in is useful information. And for me, how to use a particular interface or how to use a particular piece of software is less important than why we should use it and what direction we take the photo. I think it's important to have a clear strategy and visualization in mind when one starts editing a picture. And that's what this video is about. It's about looking at a wildlife picture and explaining why we do the things that we do. When we're first confronted by a photograph, it can be a daunting thing because we can take that photograph in any number of different directions. So for me, I think it's important to have a clear understanding of where you want to go, what direction you want to take it. Do you want to take it into black and white? Do you want to take it into a particular color palette? Do you want to emphasize a particular aspect of the photograph or some kind of behavior that's exhibited within it? These are all decisions that we need to make based on the individual picture that we see, but also in the context of where we feel that we sit as a photographer. And that context is based on our stylistic approach, where it sits within the body of our work, where we have explored other photographers' work and want to emulate it. All of this comes into the mix and is played out in the edit of any one single photograph. It's no wonder that it's easy to get lost, and it's no wonder that it's even easier to get lost if we're confronted by a software interface, perhaps one that we're not too familiar with, and have to make decisions based on what that is telling us. I think it's important to put that all to one side, to think clearly about where we want to go, where I want to go as a photographer with this individual image, and take it there. Well, this image is not very good. It's of a springbok shot in the late afternoon and dusty sun of the Kalahari National Park in South Africa. It suffers a lot from haze. It's got a green tinge to it, and that's about it. It's not a great picture. But if I look over here at the histogram, it's not actually all bad. It's shot at ISO 500 at 400 millimeters at f4. The beast is in focus. There's no blur. And this flat image, even though it's shot into the sun, is not testing the dynamic range of the camera. And the reason for that is because there's a valley side or bank behind the animal, and the light is coming in from the left over to the right. It's not actually in the shot. The only thing that's overexposed on the animal is this tinging around the outside of its fur, which actually is quite attractive. The fact that we can see into this part of the animal, into the body, even though it's basically in silhouette, means that we haven't underexposed the image and we've got good detail still left in those shadows. We can exploit that to make this image sing. One of the first things I like to do when I start to edit an image is one, to eyeball it, which we've already done, and kind of decide on a way forward. And then the second thing I like to do is have a reference point that I can look at to judge my edits. So if I come over to the Develop module here in Lightroom, what I've got is a before and after view of the images side by side. I find this really helpful to judge what I get up to. So over on the right here is the after image. Over on the left is the before image. And we can get into this view. I know I said I didn't want to talk about how to do things, but I will here. We can get into this view by clicking this little before and after icon down the bottom left of the develop module screen. So I've clicked that and I've got two identical images. I'm ready to start editing. How exciting is that? So the very first thing I like to do is go and look at the top of the screen over here at the histogram. Immediately below that is a color profile. And I really like shooting or editing my pictures in a camera faithful profile. That's usually the profile that's actually in my Canon cameras that I choose to shoot in. So I want it to match that because that's what I had in play when I took the photograph. So I'm going to click on this little profile editing drop down and choose camera faithful. Now you may not be able to see much of a difference there, and that's true in this case. What it tends to do for me is emphasize deep browns and tans, and it hasn't really done that, but it has just changed the tint slightly away from a sort of yellowy green. You probably can't pick that up on the video. Now, for those of you who don't know, Lightroom is organized in this develop module panel down the right hand side in a rough order in which you should develop your shots. And starting at the top, we can eyeball the exposure. We can then mess around with the color profiles here, the temperature and the white balance and the tints. Immediately below that, we have the exposure controls. And there's a reason that the exposure controls are up here above the color management controls. And I've found that if you mess with color first and then with exposure and contrast, what it does is it changes the lightness of that color. And that in turn, because of the way color works, adjusts the hue of the color. So what it does is it messes up the colors that you've chosen. So it's only sensible to make your contrast and exposure adjustments first before going down to adjust the tone and temperature of those colors and the saturation of the colors in your photograph. I like to do some housekeeping before getting into editing. So I always just run down the develop modules on the right hand side of the screen here and look for items that have settings in. So one of the typical ones in my import profile is sharpening. It's on and I don't want it to be on. So I'm going to drag that slider all the way to the left. And then down here below sharpening under lens corrections, we have two items: remove chromatic aberrations, which I like to turn on, and then enable profile corrections. I don't always like to enable profile corrections because if I flip in and out of this, what you'll see is the corner just gets lighter and darker. What it's doing with this very good lens, the Canon 400mm f2.8, is it's recognizing there's a vignette there and removing it. And for wildlife photography, I actually want that vignette. I don't want to have to go and add it back later if it's already there. Now the chances are I'm going to crop this photo, so I'll have to add a vignette. But anyway, I like to leave it generally unchecked, so I don't amend the profile corrections of the lens and I don't reduce the effect of the vignette in the photograph. The first thing I want to do is to go back up to the top right of the screen and have a look at the histogram, the white balance and the exposure controls, because they're going to form the basis for the adjustments on this image. If you have a look at the histogram, you can see it's an RGB histogram, red, green and blue, primary color histogram. And you can see that the shadow side of the histogram is bluer and the highlight side of the histogram is redder and yellower. And that's probably what you see in the image here. That looks reasonable to me. Now, what is going to happen when I change this from a custom white balance to an automated one where Adobe Lightroom looks at the image and decides what tonal balance to apply to it, is it's going to shrink that histogram, those channels, into the center so they mix and merge on top of each other. And I'll prove that to you now. If I go to the white balance control and go here and I click auto, you'll see that the two sides to that histogram, the two channels, the reds and the yellows on the right hand side and the blues on the shadow, the left hand side, have moved together into the center. And you can see this picture has a much less saturated and warm tone than it did previously if you look at the before picture. And that's okay, because when we come down to our exposure controls, we're going to be able to adjudge exposure more accurately without affecting color, without letting color play with our mood. And I'm going to illustrate that for you now. I'm going to put it back to the way it was and adjust exposure, and then I'm going to put it back to this way and adjust exposure, and I'm going to show you the difference. So if I undo those changes, what we end up with is the same image as we had before. Let me come down to the black slider here, slide the black until the black point is reached, and immediately you can see it's a darker image. The luminance portion of the colors have changed, and if I do that with the white slider, you'll see the same thing happen. You'll see the reds and the yellows extend further to the right, the blues extend further to the left. Look at the difference in that image in terms of the saturation of the color and the brightness of the color. It's quite different. That's a difficulty. So I'm going to undo that, go back to our base point, and come back to this white balance. And I want to get that histogram into the center. I'm going to do that by clicking auto. I'm going to let Adobe do it for me. And there we have, this image is now really flat and has almost no color in it. And that's what I want so that I can adjust my exposure. Now, if I come down to the black slider and I slide in until the black point is reached, about there, and I slide over until the white point is reached, about there, you can see that the image is not that different to what it was before. It's a much easier base to move forward to the next step, which is color corrections. In Lightroom, there's a basic panel at the top right of the screen. And the purpose of the basic panel is to allow photographers without a lot of time to move through the three steps that we need to adjust this photograph: the white balance area, the exposure area, and the color and detail areas. So effectively, the basic portion allows us quick edits, and then the lower portions of this panel on the right hand side that we can scroll down to allows us to fine tune those edits. So we can skip these portions and adjust them with controls that are lower down here. One of those controls is the tone curve control, and this allows finer level adjustments of contrast and tonality. I'm talking about exposure tonality in the image. So I'm actually going to skip this presence tab in the basic panel and move down to the tone curve, because for me that represents an exposure adjustment, and I need to get them out of the way first before moving into color. And I just want to tweak the exposure and contrast in this image. And the way I'm going to do that is to add a point in the left-hand side of this tone curve, which is representing the histogram. The left-hand side of the curve is the darker side of the curve. And I just want to lift the darks a bit in this image because it's slightly underexposed. Now, what that's done is it's lifted everything along this curve. You can see the adjustment was very, very fine. It's lifted the brights as well. It's lifted the shadows over the springbook and the darker areas. I just want to bring a little bit of darkness into this right-hand side of the image. So I'm going to go to the extreme left, which is the darkest parts of this image, and add another point. And I have to be very careful with my mouse movements here to just change that tonality and add the faintest of S-curves. And there I have it. I have an exposure and tonally adjusted, contrast adjusted image ready for the application of color. Finally, we're finally at the point where we can go into this image and add some of that mood back, some of that color and some of that afternoon that we're missing here. So I'm going to do that by going up to the humble white balance control, going up to the temperature slider, and dragging up the afternoon by dragging this to the yellows and the right. And at the same time, I'm going to come down to the tint slider, pull up the purples to bring some of that earthiness to the picture. And there we have it, almost done. A final little touch of adjustment to vibrance, and then just drag down saturation very slightly to tone down some of the reds. And there we have a finished exposure and color adjusted image. We can slide down here to the sharpening panel, add some sharpening. I need to zoom in for that. You need to be 100% zoomed. Drag on the sharpening until you see the noise getting sharpened. Reduce the radius. Reduce the detail in this image, and then mask out the noise. And to get rid of this noise, add some luminance. The final adjustments are a crop. I think that looks like it might be 5:7. And now, because we've cropped the image, a vignette. And there we have the finished product, a nicely edited version of a fairly crap picture.